and welcome to Life Lessons from a Total Failure, the podcast, a show that shares stories from passionate people living life on their own terms, and one that reminds us how life's failures and struggles are just the plot twists needed in our own personal stories to help us get to where we were meant to be. I'm your host, MJ Dougherty. All right. Well, welcome. Life Lessons from a Total Failure, the podcast is back. It's been a while. I know. I'm sorry, but things have been busy and great. I haven't had the time to get this all set up and have people over, but we're back, and I saved the best for the premiere of this season. So for season 2, the first person we have, well, most of you guys will know him as Walter White Jr. or Flynn. I know him as my friend RJ Mitte. So RJ, thank you for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Of course. So yeah, RJ's a pretty busy guy, and he's all over the place in continents. You never know where he's going to be. But luckily, I got to pin you down, and we got you in today. So I'm so glad you're here. So you're someone that most people know. I mean, let's face it, Breaking Bad is one of the best and biggest shows that have ever happened on TV. So don't need a lot of introduction about your career, but I bet you people will be interested to know who little RJ was, your backstory, and from someone who has seen you speak at one of your various venues, you usually do go a bit into your past and tell about who little RJ was, and it's pretty fascinating. It's pretty cool. So I'm going to let you start by giving a little bio of who you are, and tell us about RJ.
Yeah, who little RJ is?
Who is little RJ?
So I grew up between Louisiana and Texas. I spent a lot of time traveling between the both. My parents divorced when I was fairly young, and I kept a really strong relationship with my grandparents. I was diagnosed at 3 with cerebral palsy. But for the people that don't know, cerebral palsy can be caused from a number of things. It's most commonly caused at childbirth, from lack of oxygen to the brain, affecting the fine gross motor skills and hand-eye coordination and all kinds of things. And wasn't diagnosed until I was 3, though. And then from there, years of physical therapy and occupational therapy and speech therapy and kind of just living my life. And then somehow my sister got cast out of a water park. And
yeah, I've heard the story first. So basically you were at a water park and someone saw your sister and was like, hey, come to Hollywood?
Yeah, well, I mean, kind of. It was more or less this agent was like, I'm actually casting for a Lucille Ball campaign. And she was like, we would love to use your daughter in this campaign. She's perfect. She's what we've been looking for. And we're kind of
Lucille Ball?
For Lucille Ball, because she's
a fiery redhead.
Exactly.
Right. And
exactly.
If you knew his sister, she is a fiery redhead.
Yeah, she's a fiery redhead. She's trouble. She's a lot of trouble. But we're like, yeah, we're a little reluctant, but we're like, we haven't been on vacation in a minute. My mom was kind of sick at the time, and we're like, well, let's go do this. It's a free trip to Los Angeles. Why not?
Why turn it down?
They're paying. We're going to be put up. Wasn't that nice? But
how nice? And who knew what would happen?
Who knew? But yeah, during that period, we were here. We were in Los Angeles. She was looking for agents. I happened to be with her when we were looking for her an agent. I was around 12, 13, and an agent was like, well, would you like to audition? And I'm like, yeah, why not? If you move to LA and you don't go to school, you don't join a gang, and you don't act, you got no business.
Why are you in LA? Right?
Why are you in LA?
Exactly.
So
we don't recommend joining a gang, though.
I mean,
just gonna put that out there. This is our the more you know moment. Don't join a gang.
I mean, more friends.
Hey, lifelong homies, right?
I technically did join a gang. It's called SAG-AFTRA.
Oh yeah, I'm one of them too. All right, that's
homie.
Yeah. But we have to pay for our gang.
Yeah, I think everyone pays to be in a gang.
That is true. Okay, this is an aside that we're gonna wrap up and we're going back.
Anyways,
all right, so anyway.
So didn't really know anyone. Got out here to meet. Just started doing it to meet kids my own age. I was working on Hannah Montana, Everybody Hates Chris, Weeds, Seventh Heaven, Drove It Taylor, a bunch of shows and movies as an extra. Actually, in the beginning of my career, and that's kind of what elevated me and got me into acting, was starting to do that.
Well, and I'm going to pause you right there because I've said this many times with other actors on the show, and I've talked about this in my book. I love that you said that you were an extra and it elevated you, because people really look down on people doing this stuff. But it's a great way to get free education. And it's a good way to jump in there and kind of...
They pay you.
They pay you to just kind of stand there and watch and learn. And it's something, it's really like being a paid intern.
Yep.
And it's a pretty cool thing. So you were okay with doing the extras. Yeah. You kind of you liked it?
I loved it.
Did you know that by being an extra, did you know like this is what I want to do?
Man, I still don't even know.
He's still like, I miss Louisiana.
I don't go that far
you miss
anymore.
Texas.
I don't miss none of these states. I'm ready to hit Mars.
You're ready to go farther?
I'm terraforming that. I'm all about the terraforming of Mars.
And that's on the next episode. All right,
RJ goes to Mars.
Exclusive here. So you did background, and it was going well for you. You didn't hate it, right? You loved it. And then, how long were you in that before you got the next step?
6 months.
6 months. Okay.
Yeah,
but you're young. I mean,
yeah, I'll be 27.
So were you going to school, or were you just?
I was in school. I was 12, 13. So the school that I went to was part of the PACE program.
Okay.
It was a self-paced, self-teach system through a schooling system.
Okay.
So I could travel back and forth. And at the time, my travel was kind of already there with my grandparents, them both being sick in separate states.
Right.
And not really having anyone other than me and my mother to kind of be there. So the school was already lenient on my travel and kind of knew our position with my mom being sick.
Yeah, and your life needed it.
So I started working at a young age in all that realm. But from acting was a way for me to get schooling.
Right.
So when you're an extra and you're a child, you have to have schooling. There's a mandatory school set. So I had a teacher on set that would educate me and would work with my existing schooling connected to the school I was at to LA schooling, which was the set. And then eventually, about 6 months later, I landed Breaking Bad. I started auditioning. I auditioned 5 times for that show, 4 in Los Angeles and once in New Mexico. And that really set my career. And then through that, I had a private teacher that would work with my school. And then after that, I graduated, applied to community college, kind of did that and realized I don't really have time to continue my education when I have like
a career. I mean, most people go to college to get a career, but you kind of did it opposite. Like you already had the career.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a double-edged sword doing it that way, but I had to make a decision on, do I continue my businesses in my path, or do I stop those paths and go to school? And luckily for me, I was able to continue, and I had the know-how and knowledge to be able to say, this is how you run a business, this is how you open a 501c3, this is how you run a nonprofit, this is how you make these aspects and C Corps and S Corps and all these things, and through working, I gained my education.
Right. And, I'm a huge advocate for education. But I'm also the first one to say that, if college doesn't make sense for you, then that's okay.
It's okay.
And you can do other things that make sense for you and what are good for your life. And, maybe you're 55 and retired because you've done so well, and then you want to go to school. Go for it.
That's where I'm at.
Right. You got to do what's right for you and what makes sense in your life. And obviously, you had this experience and you had this job when you were 14 is when you started Breaking Bad?
13.
13. Yeah. Okay, so that altered the course of your life so dramatically that you didn't follow the same path as other people, which is okay.
It's that career choice. It's that you either go to school to form your career path, or your career finds you and you have to continue that path. And luckily for me, I had the ability to see that path.
Yeah.
And I took that path, and luckily it's taken me now on a 15-year almost career now.
And it's really good, and I think I like to reiterate this kind of thought that education is so important, but education does not mean you have to go to university and get a degree. Yes, I have one, and I'm so glad I have one. However, my career came from what I did in my life and what I learned through my life experience. and that's why I have what I have today.
Well, people have a misunderstanding of education. I mean, you can be book literate, but that doesn't make you actually literate.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of people that have the concept of science, but it's do they actually understand science?
Right.
And I find, for me, my knowledge came from doing and actions, and I read. I always read. I'm always reading things, but as a whole, you have to be able to be both the subject and the observer to gain that knowledge, and school provides a balance of that. You have your teacher and you have your student. And if you're not able to recognize those two things in what you do, and as your job being a teacher, and as you still being a student and learning through these processes, you don't form your education. School gives you that ability to incorporate that everyday learning into your everyday life.
Right.
But if you innately have that and you can recognize it, you can maintain without having that higher education.
And without that structure, you can do it on your own.
Yeah.
And I think that's just, I'm a huge advocate of education, but I always say that education is about doing what makes you grow and learn and expand in whatever that's right for you. I wish, looking back, I didn't go from high school right to college. I was so not ready for that, but I did, and I got lots of debt, and yay, But it's just important to always recognize learning and growing and moving on. All right, so off the education tangent, which I'm glad we went down, because for someone like you who's pretty successful and you're a very smart guy, most people probably don't realize that you're a smart dude. And you, what's that? We don't like to let that alter ego out.
Tell people that.
It's good to know that you recognize that education and learning is important, but you do it what's right for you. Yeah. Okay, so you go through 5 auditions with Breaking Bad. Did you have any idea at that age that this experience was going to completely change your life?
No, you can't. You can take these jobs and you can go and you can do all the auditions and you can film the pilot, but it doesn't mean it's good.
Right.
It doesn't mean it's gonna work
it's gonna
out.
Last. Right. Doesn't mean it's gonna last.
Like we didn't know, and then I sure as hell didn't know.
Yeah.
But we're very thankful for it. I think the whole cast and everyone that was a part of it is thankful for it, because it created so many careers for so many different people.
Yeah.
And it allowed so many avenues for me in particular, but for the whole cast, for the whole crew, and it allowed a new view on television. Breaking Bad changed television. Breaking Bad changed how people view and the standard of TV.
Yeah.
And bridge that gap of movie quality television.
Well, it raised the bar.
Did it raise the bar though?
It did. It did, because the thing is, it was done well and was so smart, and it was so intricate that people then demanded more like that.
Yeah.
So it's funny because they'll refer to like the golden age of television from like the 50s or 60s, but it really isn't. I mean, we all know now that television now is really
history
unbelievable.
Repeats itself. If you look at any aspect of history that was able to be archived, and you look at history now, it folds in on itself.
Oh, of course.
It has the same.
Yeah.
It has the same formula. And we did have a golden age of television, but we went through a golden age of media, which was the newspapers. Then we went to movies,
right?
Hollywood. Then we went to TV. Then we went back to press.
Yeah.
And now we have multiple things, and we have social media.
Right.
We don't just have media anymore. We have social media. We have television. We have movies, and then we have independent streaming.
Yep, and digital. Yeah. It's really interesting, because I feel like Breaking Bad was one of the. I'm going to go back and say it probably started with HBO originals, like The Sopranos and Oz, and they kind of like lifted the bar. But that was you had to pay for those.
Yeah.
Even though A&E was cable,
AMC,
was cable, it was still like.
Well, I think
more. It wasn't that extra premium channel, and that kind of quality that they brought, everybody. It was one of the big cable shows that people are like, oh my god,
it wasn't
like,
just
what are they
Breaking
doing?
Bad. It was Mad Men. It was Breaking Bad, and then it was
at the same time or was Breaking Bad
Hell
first?
on Wheels. No, Mad Men was the first one.
Was it? Okay.
Mad Men was first, then Breaking Bad, and then Hell on Wheels, Walking Dead, and all of the other shows that ensued after. But really, Mad Men pioneered that type of cinematic television.
Which is funny because I love Mad Men, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I would have thought Breaking Bad was before that because Breaking Bad just really did kind of, it was the one above all the others.
But Breaking Bad and Mad Men were two vastly different shows.
Yeah.
And vastly different content and vastly different times. And even period.
Oh, yeah,
pieces.
Stylistically.
When it came to costuming and everything, Mad Men
So
soared.
cool.
Always in costuming, always awards, always that. But for us, we always had the cinematic aspect.
Right.
We had an amazing DP and amazing directors. So did cross-pollination with Mad Men. But because of, I think, the innate beauty of what we did with New Mexico,
Right.
allowed that to engulf and create an immersive environment.
Yeah.
And I think that was our next step on top of that era of what AMC was doing.
So when Breaking Bad got picked up and it started, when did you first realize, okay, I'm a part of something that is bigger than just a TV show?
I mean, I think when we got picked up for the first season, I mean, we're like, yes, we got a year, we got a check coming in. This is nice, this is good, and I think that was kind of the name of the game. And then we just kept riding the ride, and we realized when we looked up, we're like, oh, this is a big wave. Like, you know, when you're surfing or when you're driving or you're in a storm or whatever it is, and you're going and you're pushing forward. You're not really looking back.
Right.
And that's kind of what we were doing with Breaking Bad. We weren't really looking back.
Ahead.
We're focused ahead, and we keep pushing forward ahead. And I think after the show ended, we all looked back, and we saw this tsunami.
And you were like, oh, man.
And we're like, man, we were on that?
Yeah.
Wait, you got footage of us riding that? So I think that really was the name of the game.
All right, so I know there's a lot of people that are going to listen to this that are just diehard Breaking Bad fans, and I hate to tell everybody this. I didn't watch Breaking Bad, and here's why. I didn't watch it because I met RJ first. I can't watch television shows where I know someone on it. It's just weird for me, and so I watched the pilot, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. But then I was just like, I can't watch a show with someone I know in it. So I didn't watch it, but I'm not dumb. I lived in this country for my whole life, and I've heard so much about it, and I've read about it, and blah, blah, blah. But so for the fans that love the show, I'm going to ask some questions. Tell me a couple things that you loved about your character. Like, what were things that you loved to play, or the memories that you had? Like, give me some tips or something that people would love to hear that will make them excited. I know there's something about cereal because people like come up to you and talk about cereal in grocery stores. It's like really odd.
Well, cereal was a big thing for Walt Jr. Breakfast was surrounding always the characters in my family. Like that was the stem of where our characters would meet, was the breakfast table. I mean, there's things,
Give me your one best memory of your character, the thing that sticks out that was your favorite part.
I think really the first days that I was on set were the most surreal days.
Okay.
And I think for me that was my favorite part, was kind of those first, because like once I got into it, I was in it.
Right.
So like I didn't really like see the difference of character anymore. Like I didn't see the breakdown. I just kind of did it. And in the beginning, I was more of developing like what the character was and is, and then in this awe moment of like I'm actually about to speak on camera.
How scary was that?
So like that's a little scary. That's a little weird. And luckily we had a very good cast of people to make it a little lighter.
I mean, did you know at that point that you were surrounded by like some heavy hitters in the industry?
Oh yeah, at this point I was an extra on quite a few big shows, so I knew what big television looked like.
Right.
I knew this wasn't like some independent indie.
But it is a big difference from being an extra who's standing there watching and going to walk through the background, and everyone is setting up around you. Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean that is a big difference, but at the same time, there's not really a difference.
Yeah.
Because you are that person in that scene, and that they may not be being blocked around you, but you are being blocked,
right?
And you are that if you take that view from it. But it was weird sitting there and just having that free range of like, all right, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to walk here to here.
You're like, wait, I'll tell you. Wait, you don't tell me? All right.
Okay, cool.
That's great.
That's the spot.
You like being the boss. That's good.
Yeah, I don't mind.
All right. So how about scene partners, the people that you got to play opposite with?
Yeah.
Who did you get most excited to work with?
I really wanted to work with Aaron, but that never happened.
Yeah.
The family, the Brian, the Anna, the Betsy, the Dean, the family core was always a fun and challenging thing to shoot. Because you're shooting everyone individually, and you're doing 2 shots and 3 shots and wides, and you're trying to get so much coverage of the full cast. And that was really really interesting to watch, trying to get all the shots in a very small, finite amount of time. But Anna and Brian were a blast to work with, and Betsy and Dean. I always liked when Dean was on set. Dean was something to watch.
Yeah,
he was funny, man. And Giancarlo, I actually out of everyone that I'm closest with on the show, Giancarlo Esposito and Luis and Daniel Moncada, who played the gangsters with the silver fire axe, are actually the closest people I have to the set.
Really?
Yeah.
Why am I not surprised? Actually, I'm like, oh, you're friends with the people who play the gangsters. That makes so much sense in my mind. I don't know.
No idea why.
There's so many people that kind of want more than anything to have a role or be part of something that you got to be a part of. And then people that aren't in the industry look at something like that and think, wow, that must be amazing. Like that must just be the pinnacle of everything. So looking back on this, you were so young when you started this. And this, like you said, the tsunami happened for you very early on. How is that now to like look back and think, okay, this was so amazing. It was such a blessing, but like, am I going to get another one of those? Or do you want another one of those? Or was that what it was for you in time and place and space, and then you're ready for something different?
I mean, I like the check. That was
you like a lot more than that.
Having a regular job with extraordinary people that knew what they were doing, that were at the highest level of caliber in the industry. I love that. I miss that. At the end of the day, that's over, and we continue to push forward, and we grow from these experiences. And I would always love to catch another one of these tsunamis or go back and do something. But at the end of the day, it's not that simple, and we just kind of hopefully we're in the right position at the right time to catch the right wave to elevate us and push us forward. And I mean, you just don't know.
You don't know. And I think that's why I asked that question. I think that sometimes people think it's like a one and done kind of thing, but it's not. Life isn't like that.
No.
And who knows? You might be on something in 10 years from now that you're going to be like, whoa, I thought Breaking Bad was a wave.
Yeah.
You never know.
Well, and I think the concept is you get a job like this and you're set for life, and that's not the case.
Right.
There's so much more to life than just this one aspect of it. And there's so much more that comes with the responsibilities of having something like this, and having an obligation to not just your career, but to your community. Mm-hmm. And when you're put into a position as this, you're put into a position of community.
Yeah. But you're also put in a position that this will live on with you forever. Knowing you feel responsibility to always kind of, if someone comes up to you or if you're out and they're, big fans, like you're always so nice and kind about it. But like, that also means that like for the rest of your life,
You gotta do it.
You gotta do it.
You
and
gotta
that's
do it.
It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. And so my question to you is, would you want another experience like this, or are you ready for something different? Like, did you want to have another big, huge show or movie or something?
Of course. I think everybody does. I think everybody wants like a big show that does well, that everyone adores you on. Like, I mean, like,
this is fascinating because knowing you, I didn't know the answer to that because I mean, you're a very quiet guy and you like your privacy, but you like the other side of it too.
I like what I was able to do on Breaking Bad.
Right.
And what came from the show and what the abilities that the show gave me and reach that the show gave me, I really like.
Yeah.
Because you can have impact with that.
And you do. I mean, you do so much. I mean, so if people don't know who are listening, he has a foundation that he runs that's based out of Texas.
Yep.
But he also does, like, this year you're in the Rose Parade and you were with the Shriners, right? You get to be. You do. And I mean, I've seen him speak at a college before, and he goes all over the place and talks to people about how to deal with life and make way and you know, just be who you are, and that's all because of what happened with this. So it is amazing, but it is a lot. I just don't think people realize how much it is.
I think now we're in a very different time because of social media, because of the ability that people have, how many fans people have now. You don't need a show like Breaking Bad to have numbers. You don't need to do these types of things or to have this type of talent to do this. You can create these numbers by your own individual talents. And I think that's where the market has changed. Mm-hmm. And that's where it's a little different in the community now of impact, of actual impact, of artificial impact.
Perceived impact. And real impact.
And real impact. And luckily, you see a lot of impact. And like it's nice. But for me, I don't actually see a lot of impact. I see a lot of perceived impact.
Right.
And what Breaking Bad gave me was actual impact.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it's like, oh, what I have, no one else has. A lot of people have this. And a lot of people do make impact in their own individual ways, but not in a global way. Right. And Breaking Bad was a global impact. Like what it did for American history, what it did for the television community, what it did for so many different aspects of people in a time. You know, Breaking Bad was also during our recession.
Right.
We survived the writer's strike. We survived so many aspects of what our citizens and our world was going through that it allowed and elevated people in a different mindset. And I think having that and allowing something like that to really to be in your life is truly remarkable.
For sure. And to piggyback on that, when people hear you and get to see what you're doing, it resonates with them more because we're
all trying to achieve the same goal.
Well, but they see how you have had this thing in your life, and now you have chosen to use your fame and use what you've had to do something better. Right.
Choices are key. The choices are key. You know, people say I can't do something. There's so many times where people are like, I can't do this or I can't do that. All right, I'm not able to, and you know, you may not be in that moment, but again, it's a choice. You have to make that decision. You have to be like, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to change my life. And I think more often than not, we forget that.
Right.
And we forget that we have a choice in this. And we got to make that step.
And the biggest part of making that step is making the step.
Making the step.
You know,
that's it.
I talk about this all the time. Like it's just do it. I mean, if you just do something, you're never, most of the time, you're not going to regret it.
No, I mean, but most of the time I do. but
no, you don't.
But it's okay. It's okay to regret things.
Right.
Like the biggest, I have some of the most tremendous regrets, ever. Life-changing regrets. Decisions that could have possibly ended a life or saved a life. And you know, those decisions, though, are okay, for better or for worse.
Well, because you learn from them.
You learn from them.
Right.
And, you know, you may not always like them.
Yeah. But they have them for a reason.
They have them for a reason, and you have to live with them.
And you got to learn from them.
You got to learn from them.
And my whole brand is built on regret. Yeah. I mean, it's like I talk about how much I screwed up my life. But what else was I going to do after I made all these mistakes? I had to look at them, learn from them, and make sure that when I'm going forward, I may make the same mistakes again, but if I really kind of understand where I've been, it'll make me have an easier time to where I'm going.
Correct.
All right, so we talked a lot about your past. Let's talk about the present and the future. So I obviously know you always have stuff going on, and you do a lot of charity work. You're an advocate for so many who need a voice to stand up for them. And then you're also still acting. So tell me about what the life of RJ today is like. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting, darling. It's busy. It's good. We're pushing forward. Still got cable.
That's always good. You can pay the cable bill, right?
Pay the cable bill. We're doing good.
So tell me about the charities that you work with. Which ones are you working with? What do you do?
So I work with Charity Hospital for Children, United Cerebral Palsy, Runway of Dreams, March of Dimes, numerous different ones globally. I just recently started being more prominent in my family foundation based in Austin, Texas, and we focus in Brownsville. But I do a lot of fundraising and different charity work. I was just doing a fundraiser where we raised quite a bit. We raised quite a bit of money for the organization. I just did one charity event for Fortnite.
Oh,
the pro amateur
where the
game.
Kid won $6 million?
No, three.
Three. Well, still, I don't think his parents were ever going to yell at him for playing video games again.
Oh, my God.
$3 million.
That sounds
I
awesome.
saw that he won. His purse was more than the winner of Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Okay, so next time you tell your kid that he's wasting his life playing video games,
I mean, well, it was $30 million in total winnings. And so our event, it was $1 million prize for first place, and then it slowly went out. But there was a flat fee that everyone got, but half of that fee is split between us and the charity, and what we take in is split between me and the professional gamer.
Okay.
And it did good. I think the tournament probably raised about $1 million, maybe more in the charity.
Amazing.
They probably raised in the whole event a couple million to charity, and
people just play numerous video games. They play Fortnite. That's
Epic
really
Games. Yeah, they're slaying it. They're donating a bunch of money to charity. So I do numerous different events, different aspects,
and then
focal points,
and then you also speak. You're always somewhere speaking. What do you usually talk about?
I talk on advocacy, stepping out of the realm of comfort, diversity in the arts and media, overcoming adversity. You know, everyone has their own adversity.
Yeah.
Like everyone's like, oh, I'm fighting this battle, or I'm fighting this battle. Well, everyone's fighting a battle. Right. Everyone has their own aspect. It's how do you handle your adversity? How do you recognize it? How do you confront it? And how do you handle it? And how do you maintain it? Because it will always live with you, but that's part of your community. That's part of what brings you into this gap of your humanity.
Well, it's funny because you talk about that. You talk about how you deal with adversity, and I talk to people about how to be an advocate for people who are dealing with adversity, and we're all dealing with it. So if we can all understand our own issues and understand how to help others by being an advocate, what a world we would live in.
Oh, it would be beautiful. Well,
sunshines and rainbows.
If you could recognize someone, so when I look at people, I luckily because of my acting, I read emotion.
Yeah.
My job is to read your emotion and to react to your emotion. So for me as an advocate, and for me as someone that is willing to step into someone's realm and step out of my realm of comfort, I'm willing to ask someone if they're okay, if I can tell they're in distress.
Right.
And it's very easy to see people in distress.
Yeah.
It's easy. You see it in their eyes, you see it in their mouth, you see it in their posture. And as that grows, their posture, their stress, that grows.
Right.
And predominantly it's amplified to the outside individual. And that will also limit their ability to either get outreach or have people reach out to them.
Yeah.
And that's where we have a big issue, is that not enough people are stepping out of that realm of comfort when it truly matters.
Right.
They wait till, oh my God, there's a fight, let's record this. Or, oh my God, they killed themselves. Or, oh my God, this happened. But I think the biggest thing is we need to get to these individuals when you see the first signs of distress. When you've been like, yeah, he's been super sad. It's kind of been really bothering me lately, but I haven't really talked to him in like 2 weeks.
And that's crazy, right?
And then they die. So and it's like, oh my God, I live with this regret.
Yeah, and I talk to people all the time. When I go to high schools or colleges, especially if they're younger, freshmen or sophomores at college, I talk about like the issues that plague this generation the most. And I always say there's the 3 S's, and it's like self-acceptance, social media, and suicide. Yeah. Because first of all, they're all connected very, very closely. They're rooted, yeah. But the time to worry about someone is not when they say they're suicidal. It's way before that, because someone who's really suicidal isn't going to say it. They're just going to do it. So you have to be able to look at people and see something's wrong, and you have to know how to be an advocate for them. Yeah. I'm not asking people to go get psychology degrees. Just look at people, listen, appreciate, say that you're there for them, tell someone else what to do, and give them a light to show them where they need to go to get help. And it's so important because there's just so many people.
Well, but people don't want to go and get help. They want to self-treat. They want to self-medicate. They want these all, I can do it independently. I can handle my own weight. And that's where we need to figure out how do we help them? How do we help these individuals set aside that weight and be like, hey, look, you have an option. Like, you may feel this way, you may feel this doubt, but this is not the only way. This is not the only doubt.
And I really believe from my experience and what I've seen, what I've learned, it's when someone has taken time, and spent time on that person and let that person know they care, they'll listen. But they have to understand that people that are in pain and that are suffering, they have to understand that someone is actually there. Yeah. And that doesn't mean, picking up the phone every 5 minutes that they call. No. It means being like, listen, I'm telling you, I'm listening to you, I'm appreciating where you're at. Like, I'm telling you, I'm here for you, but like, you got to do it too. Yeah. I'll help you help yourself. Correct. And that is a very important thing, and it's something that I think that more people need to talk about. And someone like you can bring it to like a huge. I might bring it to a minor stage, but you could bring it to a major stage.
When I go, I've talked to elementary, to university, to Oxford Union, to first grade kindergarten class of somewhere no one ever heard of, and I get more results with the younger kids when I'm talking about stepping out of the realm of comfort. And I start talking these things, and I ask them, I'm like, has anyone ever, specifically in specific settings, has everyone ever been suicidal? Has anyone had this? I have anywhere from 9-year-olds say, I thought about self-harm. I thought about killing myself. I'm a burden to my parents.
It's horrifying, isn't it?
And it's like, you're like, you're 9. You're 9. You shouldn't feel like you're a burden to anyone. You have a whole life ahead of you. No one taught you. No one gave you the tools to realize like you have a life. You're not a burden. If you don't want to do this, grow this way. Right. And that's what we have to accomplish, is get to the youth and be like, hey, you're an asset. You have skill. You have talent. You're not a burden. Your parents don't think you're a burden. Your friends don't think you're a burden. You may not have money. You may not even have friends. You may not have the time. You may have all the responsibilities in the world. But guess what? There's nothing in this world that we can't handle. Right. That's the human ability, is to adapt, to overcome.
And everything changes.
Everything changes.
It's right now, it's a blip in the radar of what your life can be, but you have to live that life to get there. And I was just telling someone who's known me for years the other day that when I was in middle school, I literally didn't have a friend. I sat by myself. People, kids are very clever. They called me M-gay. Real nice, M-gay. A big fat M-gay who transferred to a public school.
We call you M-gay too.
Yeah, I knew. I didn't even want to tell you that. I was like, oh, great, he's going to call me that now. It's going to be like, I'm going to call, I'm going to see his phone is going to flash and say M-gay. Done. Anyway. Done. But when I was in middle school, I thought I was the most horrible, worst, terrible person in the whole world. I had no friends. It was a horrible time. But then something in my brain was like, I'm going to high school. I want to change some things. I'm going to try to just be me a little bit more, but also try to do what I needed to do to get by. And my life changed. And it wasn't, I'm not saying that it changed for like the best, and who I became in high school is who I am today, because it is not. But I realized that, when you're in whatever your situation is, it's temporary. Things can always change. And that's what people that are suffering
But you have to choose to.
You have to choose to. You have to make the
decision.
Plan and the decision. And for me, it was, I remember in 8th grade, summer of 8th grade, going to 9th grade, it was like, I don't want to be a loser anymore. Like, I don't want to sit by myself. I like people. I like to talk. How do I do this? What do I do? I want friends. And I actually made a plan. And my plan was be nice to all the girls so the girls like me first. And then if the girls are all nice to me, then the guys will be nice to me. And it worked. It was something I needed to do because I wanted to change.
You had to, though. You had to make that plan. You had to say, look, I want to change my life. I want my friends. I want these people. I want people in my life.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny, though, is that we all want that. But we actually don't want that. We're like, we don't want to bring people into our mess. We don't want to bring people into our down. I'm a downer. I'm this. I'm this. I'm all these things that we say to ourselves. And people forget that it's like, no one is actually saying these things about you.
Right.
You have them in your head.
You're doing it yourself.
You're doing it yourself. You're creating these monsters.
And most of the time, people really, that is the biggest issue, is you build these things up in your head to be these huge obstacles that they're not.
They're not.
And if you just switch that thinking, it can really help. But a lot of times you need someone to clue you in on that.
Distract you. It's a distraction.
Yeah,
it's a distraction.
For sure.
I found where most of my things were able to set aside was I was too busy focused on X to focus on the menial aspect of whatever it was that I felt burdened by, or that I felt weakened by, or that I felt that I had an obligation to, when really my needs, and this goes into needs outweighing your wants. Right. You can want things, but do you need those things? And if you're getting everything you want, and you're constantly building this aspect of want, you find yourself in desperation, and you find yourself wanting more.
Right.
And that wanting in itself can not just be, I'm not talking material, I'm talking spiritual, I'm talking people, I'm talking just aspirations. When you haven't been able to meet that want, but your want has grown beyond your need. And that's where I find we have a big issue, is you need to realize your need.
Right.
Your need will never be as big as your want. Right? Your need will never be as big as your want.
Exactly.
But your need will always be your need. And you will always have that need.
And this is why I find social media to be so scary, especially for younger people. And listen, a lot of adults fall into this too. But they see these things and their want becomes so huge because they want all these things that they think are real, which are not real. It's all fake. And they are so focused on that, they don't realize that the things that they need, they may actually have.
Yeah.
They may have 2 or 3 really great friends, and they may have families they love, but they're looking at all this stuff that they want, that they think is real, that isn't, and they let that
they
overshadow
They see the cars, and they see the models, and they see all these pretty things and pretty people, and they see that they have them, and that this is what they do to get those things, and then they don't realize that they actually have to return those things on Monday.
Right. Or their credit card just got declined because they're over their limit.
Or all that cash you see sitting on their bed is literally all the cash in a loan that they have, and they have to return that.
Right. It's crazy. And I always say this. I say, social media is basically what you put on social media is what you want people to be jealous about your life. People are just like, oh, I want to post a picture, so people are like, oh my god, your life looks so great. That's all it is. It's crazy.
It's an opinion, it's not fact.
Yeah. And I mean, we live in a world where part of our job is supposed to be like social media, and I'm terrible at it. You're not the best either. You don't love it either, because it's just
well, I have a hard time with contrivity. When we're dealing in the world of artificial perception. And it's my job is to create truths in characters.
Right.
I like to create a character. I like to create a person, a real person,
right.
A person that exists. And when you're dealing with social media, Your job isn't to create a real identity. Your job is to create a persona.
A persona.
I hate persona.
And I agree. And I find it so difficult. I don't want you to know what I eat for breakfast because who gives a crap?
Well, I don't want to. Wait. This is the thing: is I don't want to wake up 3 hours early to make or go buy a breakfast from somewhere to bring it back home
and pretend like you made it.
And pretend like I made it.
I know, right? It's just so ridiculous. And then what I always end up doing is I do pictures of me and my friends or my family, and then I get told that no one wants to see me taking pictures with all these other people that no one knows.
No one wants to see
my
that.
Life is the things that I enjoy in my life are my friends and my family. So that's me. But that's not the right me that I'm supposed to put out there.
Ew.
Ew. What?
Ew. You're just ew.
It's just social media. It just does my head in.
But that's where I find a big doubt in people comes from, is they see these aspects of reality that aren't reality.
Not real.
And we're in the golden age of media. This is the golden age of media. We're in the golden age of social media, of broadcast media, of these aspects of life that are being shown to you and you're not a part of them. And I find we're about to step out of that age and go back into cinematic projects.
Good.
I'm hoping.
Let's hope.
I'm hoping.
I honestly, one day, if they're like, oh, they decided to end social media, it's no good, it's outlawed, I'd be like, thank you, God. Like, oh my God, I can go back to just...
I wish they would make internet hard again. Like harder to
If
get.
everybody had to go do the beep,
the
the dial-up, no one would do it anymore. I know. We're probably the only two people that sit here and be like, we hate it. Oh, we sound like the guys from the Muppets that sit up there like...
Oh, look, the guys in the stands? Yeah,
so good. Yeah, sometimes it's okay to be that way.
Yeah, it's all right.
So... Before I send you packing, let's hear what do you got coming up in the future. What do you want for you? Like what do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be rich.
Yeah, well, that's a given.
No, I just want a better world. I want where the lakes are clean and the buildings are smaller and that everyone has energy efficient ability and that no one needs renewable energy and that we just live in a perfectly
world peace.
World peace, world peace.
Okay, but for you alone, are you looking for more acting roles? Are you going into? We know that you have some directing aspirations.
So yeah, I'm doing some music videos. I've been helping my little sister with her music. She's 15,
and she's great. By the way,
she's a good singer. But she has a lot of work to do, and we're in the middle of releasing a song for her. Mm-hmm. We'll see how that goes.
Cool.
And I have a couple of. I was on a show called Now Apocalypse on Stars. It went really well. Still going well. People love it, or people don't.
It's definitely an interesting show. You should check it out.
Yeah, you've seen it.
The first couple episodes, I was like, "Where is this going?" I'm going to keep watching it.
The one show you have watched of mine.
I did watch that one.
Yeah,
that was like, there's lots of it's skin and sex.
Hot.
Yeah, it's hot. Like a skin, sex, and aliens. That's it.
Skin, sex, and aliens.
It is something.
There's more than skin and sex. There's promiscuity. There is
promiscuous sex, skin, and aliens. I feel like you're getting into the producing world too, because you're always working with projects. I mean, me and you are working on stuff, and you work with other people.
A lot of advisory. I'm been on a lot of consulting. I've been getting more consulting positions. I have a couple of projects, one with us as well, that I'm trying to get produced and made. I have a couple of movies this year that will be coming out. One called Triumph. The other one, I don't even think they have a name yet. Okay. But I have some projects coming out. I have a couple of shows, couple of movies. Really, the last year, I've had a lot happen in my philanthropic life.
Yeah.
That's kind of been really taking a lot of my time.
Taking precedence over everything
else. I mean, it's kind of been taking precedence over my rent. So a movie has to come soon. But there's a lot coming out. Just check out my social media. It's all RJ Mitte. Look for the blue check. If you see someone that doesn't have it, that's not me.
That's me.
That's
me. I'm trying to get him in trouble.
Hey, there's actually someone
at RJ Moody,
dude. RJ Moody.
RJ Moody,
dude. I have someone though right now that's impersonating me.
Get out.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, he's sending people like money. I'm like, yo, if you're sending
anybody money. His Venmo's at RJ Mitte.
Yeah, RJMitte.com.
So I found out recently. This is hilarious. I have an there's a Twitter at MJ Dougherty fans. There's like 3 people.
You got a fan base?
I was like, I have a fan Twitter with 3 people in it. I was like, what?
Oh,
I know. I'm such a special boy.
It's probably your mom.
Probably no. My mom's on Twitter. She probably doesn't follow me. My mom is a diehard like reality star fan, so she follows all the reality people and doesn't have time for my nonsense.
Clearly,
she's like all about that stuff. But
clearly,
all right. So you're a busy guy. I don't want to keep you all day. But before you go, I'm going to ask you a couple questions.
Yeah.
So, all right. First question.
Couple more.
Tell me, like, what is your dream vacation? What would that look like?
No people that I don't like.
Okay.
No one over the octave of 6.
He lives in a very loud household, so
I have a
he likes quiet,
loud environment. A boat somewhere tropical, somewhere
nice.
Seas calm, somewhere where we could get fish and water.
Gotta love fish.
Gotta love fish and water.
So then my next question is sushi or tacos? What do you prefer?
Same thing.
Sushi?
Same thing.
Same thing.
You never had a sushi taco?
Oh, a sushi taco. Oh, yeah, I have.
Bomb.
Yeah, they're good. Oh, they're
Bomb.
really good. Yeah.
So good.
All right, and the most important question for me, and I feel like you only have one right answer for this. What is your favorite theme song?
There's only one right answer?
Yeah. If you don't say Breaking Bad, I think people are going to be real pissed.
Other
than Breaking Bad, what is your favorite theme song?
MASH.
That is a great one.
Best theme song
that is a good
ever.
One. It was good.
Forever.
You know that set burned down, or that where they
heard.
burned down in the fires.
I know.
It sucks.
It's all good. I actually shot a music video. I helped produce there.
I went there
see it
when I was, I don't know, maybe like my 3rd or 4th year in LA. I like found the place and like trekked all up there.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, MASH is classic.
MASH is the best. But I wonder actually how many people know the theme song to MASH.
Well, it's
don't say it.
Okay. Well,
no, it's a song.
Yeah, but the
instrumental.
They did the instrumental for the show.
I'm curious how many people are going to look up.
Well, they'll hear it. If I don't know if YouTube will probably take it out, but if they're just listening to it on like Apple or.
You're gonna play it?
I always put the.
So
apparently, RJ has never listened to my podcast because at the end of every, I never watched your show. You never listen to my podcast.
Yeah, whatever.
At the end of every episode, I put whatever you picked as the outgoing music. So.
Oh yes. Hey, that because it's instrumental, you'll be able to play it.
All right. Well, then we'll be leaving you at MASH. And RJ, thank you so much for taking the time and coming. I really appreciate it. And don't forget, follow him at RJ Mitte. Send money at rjmitte@venmo.com. All right. Bye.
Hey, Roy Mitte. No.
Roy Mitte at Roy Mitte. Just kidding. At Roy Mitte. Bye.
Hey, Roy Mitte. Hey, check. DM me if you want to
know. Bye. And if you enjoyed our podcast today, make sure to hit subscribe and rate, review us, and follow along on social media at LLTF the podcast. I absolutely love getting to this podcast. It is so much fun and want to be able to continue doing it for a long time to come. But it takes a lot of time and money, and that's where you come in. If you think you'd like to donate, check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/LLTF the podcast, or you can donate via Venmo at LLTF the podcast.